Hello and welcome everyone to Women's Speakers Association's WSA TV premiere show. I'm Laura Rubenstein, your host and producer, and you can see today we have a rockin' topic. It's all about how to rock your speaking from stage. We have experts in the house who are just chomping at the bit to say hello and get right into it. So let's go ahead and say hi, and I'll bring up Rebecca. Hi.
Hi, Laura. I'm Rebecca Massoud. I am a speaker coach and creator of Speak, Shine, Sell. I'm calling in from San Diego, and you can find me online at rebeccamassoud.com.
Great to have you, Rebecca. And hi, Marianne.
Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Laura. My name's Marianne Emma Jeff, and I am the Get It Done Diva. I'm also the mistress of momentum for women in business. I have a couple of books I've written. I've written Brand Me. I've also written the Get It Done Diva's Guide to Business. And you can find me at womensbusinessmomentum.com on the web.
Wonderful. Now, I know both of you are heavily involved in working with people in speaking and growing their messaging. And so I thought we'd talk today about how to really rock out the speaking, how to build that presence and what's going to make a difference. And Rebecca, I was hoping for some advice from you first on how can people rock their speaking?
Well, thank you, Laura. So one of the things is that I say is that I teach a one-day workshop called Speak, Shine, Sell, where I, take people step by step on how to create that signature talk. And so we go top to bottom through the structure. And here's what I find is that, structures and blueprints and formulas work to a certain point. And I think what really makes you stand out as a speaker is when you, the problem is we overemphasize the formulas. And so the 3 tips is that I want to share is what's going to really make you stand out. And so my first tip as a way to really rock your speaking is you have really got to spend less time looking at other people's stuff. Anybody relate to, spending a lot of time? And what I end up noticing when I do that is I end up feeling bad about myself or just kind of in a really funky space, and spend a lot more time sourcing your own creative voice. So you can have, you want to learn the structure to creating a great talk, and that's going to serve you to a point. And then it's about really bringing in your, your secret sauce. And I believe the best way to get that is just connecting with your own inner voice, your higher guidance, your higher self, spirit, and literally ask. So how do you do that is spending time daily, really making it a consistent daily practice, not just one and done, but a ongoing, consistent practice of connecting with that higher self. That has all the answers, that has all the infinite knowledge. And so literally asking, what is the message for my audience today? Or what's the offer that I want to make? Or that I'm being guided to make. So using that as a way to really source from internally, because we spend so much time looking outside for the answers. So that daily practice. And then the second tip is trust what you receive. So many times I can just look back in my own life where I've gotten some message of like, do this and create this event or say this message or write this in an email, and I haven't followed it. So it's truly about trusting that guidance. And then third tip is acting on it. So I've gotten, things that like I had this recently, or actually a couple of years ago, I got an idea for a speaker event that I was really, really excited about. So I got the guidance. I was like, all right. And then I shared it with a friend, and she started adding in her stuff. And what about this? And what about that? And then I was like, I wasn't really that excited about it anymore. So I dropped it. And then I just recently, the idea has come back. And so so that's the trust. And it's like, okay, now I'm trusting and I'm discerning how, how much, who to share it with, when to share it. And then now it's like acting upon it. So that is the third tip, is how to really, stand out as a speaker, is you got to really act on it and be willing to go against the grain. So I'm, one of those people, I teach people, how to create the structure. And I say, learn the formula, learn the structure, and then break it. Do your, really follow that internal, we're taught so much by the experts on how to do things. And so we're listening a lot for that outer voice. And so this is about really sourcing and coming home to your own body's wisdom and your own knowing, and trusting it and acting on it.
That's great. Such wisdom, because so many people suffer from lack of confidence in themselves. But if they just tweaked that and forgot what they're not confident about and trusted what's in, it can make a huge difference on stage in particular. And so I wanted to move over now to Marianne and talk about, okay, so now you've got this guidance. What advice do you have, and they're trusting it, for people to really rock it on stage?
Well, Rebecca's right on the money to start with. I just want to say that, because I'm fascinated with the word momentum, right? I love the idea of momentum. It is that beautiful place where we're in the zone, where things are easy and it's fun, and we can create magic, and things just happen. And that happens when we tune in to doing things that are fun, that excite us, and we use that as the criteria. So when I think of momentum, it's 99% feeling good, a feeling, and 1% action. But it's really being clear on what that action is and being consistent with it. And the tip I have is an equation that I use all the time. I've been sharing the same equation for almost a decade now. And it is momentum equals clear vision, being really clear about what it is going to look like, whether you're working on your signature presentation, or if I'm working with someone to create a plan of their offers, or they're designing a new website. It doesn't really matter what it is. You have to have a picture. You have to have an idea of what you want to create. You have to have a clear vision of it and feel into that as well. And then there's that passion piece. And in terms of speaking, the passion comes from stories. I see a lot of people that are going into speaking because they feel called to share their knowledge with the world, but they fall into the trap of teaching rather than sharing stories. And it's a completely different experience. We lean in when someone's telling stories. And so you want to find ways, instead of talking at the audience, to be including them and sharing stories. It's like they're peeking into what you're telling them, and you're sharing with them, and you're building relationships very quickly. When you talk at someone and teach to them, it almost creates a distance rather than drawing people in. So that passion piece of the equation comes from sharing stories, which create beautiful vulnerability, and really sharing little bits and pieces of yourself and what's happened with you, and allows you to really have fun. And so that's part of the passion too. So we've got vision, knowing what you want to create. I want to create a signature presentation about this, that, or the other. I want to bring in the passion, right? And then there is the consistent action, which is the third ingredient of the equation. And I think that's a place where women really struggle. What we tend to do is we binge. So I'm going to work on my signature presentation. I'm going to work on my follow-up email campaign. I'm going to work on creating a new website, and I binge and I stay up all night and I'm working on it. And then I don't do anything for a while, which is binging too. Binging is doing a lot or doing nothing. And so when we get into that sweet spot of consistent action, we're not depleting ourselves. And so consistent action is rehearsing and working on the presentation and writing, and creating writing as a daily habit. So as a speaker, I believe we go into that rock star place. And really the key to that is this momentum equation. But if we were to say which of the three is the most important, I would say it is the consistent action, because the consistent action is what makes the people who are great. Actually, I'm going to reverse that. It makes instead of being great, it's going to make you be outstanding. It's going to make you be a rock star, be leagues above everyone else. And the consistent action is going to be what takes you there.
Yeah, getting lots of hearts on both what you just said, Marianne, and what Rebecca, you trained on as well. And I want to tie it all together because this is rich. This is really beautiful. You know, when you get that clarity, as you said, Marianne, Rebecca, you can trust more, you know, like, and when you are starting to trust, you will get the clarity. They're kind of like, woven together, this trust and clarity, the vision, and the receiving that guidance and allowing it to come through you. And that builds the confidence in you when you're clear and you're trusting, and then you can go out and take action, like both of you said, and be consistent in it and have fun with the vulnerability and the storytelling. The vulnerability, when Rebecca, like you said, you're trusting, things are coming to you. It's like obvious what you need, what stories you need to tell. So using the two of your wisdom together is like rich, and we're getting lots of likes here. So thank you for watching. And if anybody has any rock star tips for that you've got going, that rocks your speaking, you know, this is collaborative. We'd love for you to chat with us here at Women Speakers Association on the Facebook page. I'm monitoring it at the same time here, but I want to get a little bit deeper into what you do, both of you do. Who do you work with and what do you do? You've alluded to some of it, but Rebecca, maybe you can tell us briefly who you work with and what you do.
Yeah. So I work with women entrepreneurs and I teach them how to create that soul aligned signature talk so they can deliver it with a radiant stage presence and reap the rewards of an amplified income and impact. What I find, Laura, is that so many women hold back their voice and they question whether, you know, that if they have what it takes. And I put myself in that category because that is, you know, for more than 2 decades, that was a big part of my struggle and story. And it's still an edge that I dance in. But it's, you know, so I think that's part of one of the reasons why I'm so dedicated to helping women speak their true message and shine their light and really sell from, unapologetically sell from that powerful place of service.
Wow, that's great. Can you share maybe a story about how you help someone?
Yeah. So one of my person that comes to mind is one of my favorite clients, MJ, she's a seasoned executive coach, and she really wanted to gain visibility and thought leadership in the health and wellness industry. And so we worked together to create her soul aligned signature talk, and she used my structure and coaching, and then she also really sourced from her own knowing. And so important. And she came up with this, and then she was called to speak at this very well-known industry conference, health and wellness industry conference. And she came up with this out-of-the-box topic called How to Prevent Death by Isolation. Kind of, yeah. And so out of 100, I know, it's like, what is that? But out of 100 applicants, she was one of the few chosen to give this mini TEDx-like talk on this huge stage. And now she has, you know, a positioning as a thought leadership voice. She got gained traction in this industry and gained visibility, and also, you know, brought on a lot new clients and doubled her income.
Wow. Phenomenal results, phenomenal way to work with people, way to be the guide for them on that journey to getting onto the powerful stage. Wonderful. Thank you for your story and your vulnerability about yourself. And Marianne, I'd love to learn about you now too. And who do you work with? What do you do with them?
So I work with women who want to stand out and step up as leaders and experts in their industry. And quite often those women are not necessarily comfortable in the spotlight, but they feel like they don't really have a choice. And honestly, if we look at anyone who wants to be in business, male or female, granted, you have no choice. You're a speaker, you're a writer, you are a teacher, you are a visionary, you're a leader. those 5 things now come along for the ride. There's no choice. You have to be in all of those roles. And so what I do is I help them get into momentum and to stay there. And as I said before, that's 99% of that is a feeling. So I have an organization called the Women's Business Momentum Center, and we have a tribe of women, and I do action and accountability calls. I love tools. So I have all of these great tools for the ladies to use. But I want to remind everyone, the tools are just there to get you in the mood so that you are feeling joyful and excited, and that you can begin to work on that signature presentation, that you can write that best-selling book. And I can help women through different VIP days and coaching to then begin to execute some of those things and get it done like a diva.
Awesome. We love that. And I love the idea of tools to get you in the mood, because there will be times when I'll be using tools and I'll say, I just love tech.
Yeah,
I just love tech because it's
yeah,
making my life easier when it does. So tell us a
yeah.
story about how you help somebody.
Sure, sure. So there was a lady called Hazel Ortega. And when I started 10 years ago, and about 9 years ago, she came to the second meeting I had in Pasadena. This was an in-person meeting. And she came in a few minutes late. And there's all this vulnerability, which I love to create a community where we build relationships quickly. And we're chatting, and everybody's chatting, and we're having a mastermind meeting. And she comes in and she's like, how long have you all been meeting? Because it felt so rich. It felt like the relationships had built so quickly, and it had only been one time before. And she began to come, and she loved the community. And she was being called. She had one office and one employee at the time. And she kept being called to go speak in her industry. People knew she had information. They went, and the idea of it just made her feel nauseous. And so I kept being there for her and helping her get clear on what she was, what her message was. And that gave her more confidence so that she began to feel like, okay, maybe I can tackle this speaking thing. And then I put on a conference, which I did for several years, called Her Story Women's Conference. And I created the space for the women to share vulnerable stories. And I challenged her to be a part of it. She did that. And she began to soar, and she got a brand story, which is one thing that I helped the ladies with as well. And then she began to get speaking opportunities. She did, I think, 42 in 1 year. And she was called to Sacramento, to the state capitol, to speak in her industry as an expert. And then we began I worked with her to create her best-selling book, and we got her to #1 on Amazon from bounce checks to private jets, The Mastery of Miracles. She's an amazing, vulnerable, beautiful story. And then I helped her get speaking gigs. She just came back from a keynote she was doing in South America. And she's now working on her next book, and she has 42 different offices across the country. She has almost 50 employees, and we've grown her business as her confidence has grown, and have gotten clearer on her message and her goals. But mainly what we do together is we play with things that get her in momentum, that feel good, that feel exciting. And it's the language. So for example, I was just meeting with her a couple of weeks ago, and I'm nudging her towards webinars or doing that. And it doesn't feel good to her. Every time I mention it, we go a different direction, because with the tools, it either feels good and exciting, or it doesn't feel good and I don't want to push. So then we're talking about it again, and she goes, oh, it's like Q&A. I can do Q&A. And we just needed to look at it from a different lens, a different perspective. So she's warming up to it, and perhaps that will be something that she'll begin to lean into next. But you have to be in the mood for it. If you push and you're not feeling like writing or putting yourself out there, it's divine timing. Everything will come about. You follow the breadcrumbs of joy, and those tools that light you up, and it will bring you to that place that what you want to go. It will create that momentum for you.
Beautiful. So inspiring, both of you, your stories, your talents, and your advice. I really thank you for your wisdom. Yes. I want to hear now, because this is what we do at Women Speakers Association. We feature your best self, the stuff the messages you have for the world. And so I'd love to know what from each of you has Women Speakers Association already been of value. And Rebecca, maybe you can share a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. What I love about Women's Speakers Association is, first of all, the networking with amazing women like the both of you, Laura, Marianne. I think there are valuable opportunities to connect with so many amazing women speakers. The visibility, so that, you know, being here on this show is incredible opportunity for visibility, and then speaking opportunities. So that is what I'm really looking forward to. And this is a speaking opportunity, so it's an opportunity to practice. I believe every time we're doing a podcast or interview, or it's all practice. And so it's yeah, I'm just really grateful.
And we're grateful for you. And thanks for practicing with us, for sure. And Marianne, why don't you share with us
Yeah.
about the value that Women's Speakers Association is for you?
The Women's Speakers Association is an invitation to be outstanding. When you gather with people that are having the same desire as you, and they are hungry, I love that word, being hungry, then it up levels and upgrades how you're showing up. So when you're a part of a community like that, if you tune into it, it can't do anything but create and demand more of you. And then on top of that, you have all of the resources, the tools, but that community of outstanding people inviting you and expecting you to be amazing and to show up that way is such a gift. I'm so thankful for that.
And we are thankful for you. And thank you both for being outstanding. You know, the two of you are really gifts to Women's Speakers Association as well. And I'd like to invite everybody who's watching to connect with both Rebecca and Marianne here on Facebook, on their websites. You'll see that on our blog at wsatv.com. They'll be up there on Tuesday for you with their links. You can, they are tagged here on Facebook. They'll be on YouTube. So please be in touch with our experts here today, because you really are helping people rock their speaking. So thank you for the advice, and we'll be back with another episode next week. We have a very special one. We have a special announcement for you on June 13th. So be sure to tune in again around noon Pacific, and we will see you then, or 12:30. We'll, you know, normally we're on about 12:30. Okay. Bye for now, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Laura. Thank you, Marianne. Bye.